What is up guys, Andy Forrestine Runner here and welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be going through my top 5 steps for recovery that I'm going to be taking over the next couple of weeks. So if you saw the previous video, you know I've been suffering with a little bit of a calf injury which has escalated into something a little bit more, all due to my own stupidity, just pushing through a calf niggle when I really should have rested. We got a big 12-week block complete, which I'm over the moon about, and now we're going to be having a couple of weeks enforced rest. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it will just be a couple of weeks, but of course we'll be playing it by ear, and if after 2 weeks we're okay, we'll be able to ease back into things gently. I'm going to go through with you what I'm going to be doing over the next couple of weeks to ensure that I get back to fitness as soon as possible whilst being sensible and smart so that I can train consistently after. And just before we dive into today's video, 2 things. Number 1, a massive heartfelt thank you for all your kind messages on the previous video. You guys are amazing. I appreciate your support, and it's funny to hear how a lot of you guys do the same as me. Us runners, we're a stubborn breed, aren't we? We just, it's a bit of a nigger. We'll push through. I seem to have touched a nerve with a few of you. A lot of you, in a good way, a lot of you guys can resonate with what I'm saying. So I appreciate your support. It means the world to me. And secondly, with my own money, I have purchased a pair of Alpha Flies, Retail Therapy. They're on half price at the moment, £135 for a pair of Volt Pack colourway, the beautiful yellow colour, my favourite colourway. They did them in my size. If the deal is still live when this video goes out, I will leave a link in the description below. If you've been hesitating or on the fence like I have, now is the time to grab them. £135 for a pair of Alpha Flies. As I said, I'll leave a link in the description. It is an affiliate link. It costs you no extra and it just helps out the channel. So with that out of the way, let's dive into the 5 things I'm going to be doing over the next 2 weeks. If you're excited, give this video a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and start with number 1. So as someone that cannot sit still and gets very agitated when I don't exercise, not running is quite a hard concept for me, but I've been able to be quite at peace with this decision, which I know sounds stupid, but a lot of us runners, we get frustrated when we can't run. So the one thing I'm going to be doing over the next couple of weeks is cross training, which includes strength work. It's going to include a bit of cycling, a bit of rowing machine, a bit of whatever I can find at the gym. Just have a bit of fun and a bit of experimentation. At the moment, this week, I've been to the gym twice already, which is great. It's something that I have really failed to get into a habit of during the last couple of training blocks, to be honest with you, and actually it's kind of reignited my passion for being up there, doing a bit of strength work, hopping on the bike, doing half an hour's worth of cardio. The one thing that I really want to do, obviously I know, and I'm telling you guys, I can say this because I tell it to other people, and I'm also content with this. I know after a couple of weeks, the first couple of runs might be a bit rusty, but you're really not going to lose a lot of fitness. Honestly, after 2 weeks, you're really not. So for me, just by doing a little bit of half an hour cardio, a couple of times this week, a couple of times next week, it's just going to, for me, in my head, mentally more than anything, keep things ticking over so that hopefully once I've got those first couple of rusty runs out the way, I'm going to be back feeling really good again. So cross training, including strength work, but also including some cardio, is just going to keep me from going a little bit stir crazy. As I said, I'm a bit of a fitness person. I love keeping active. I love my walking, so I'll be walking a lot. I can still do walking without any discomfort, and I'm also allowed to walk. So it's all good. Just doing a little bit of that is going to keep my mind at ease. It's going to keep me and my brain thinking that I'm doing something good over this Christmas period when it's very easy to overindulge. So number 2 is going to be, hopefully you picked up from my attitude there, just don't stress about it. It's such a big deal to us runners to be off injured. And I know, especially if there's someone with my mindset who's quite a competitive person, who's always trying to look to improve, set PBs, just has that little fire in your belly to go out there and do a little bit more each time and just crave to get those PBs. That's the type of person I am. I wish I could be a bit more of a casual runner that just goes out there and just enjoys running for the sake of it. Don't get me wrong, I love running for what it does for me and everything, but it also allows me, a big part of it is it allows me to push my body and test myself and see how far I can go. But I think one of the key things with that type of mentality is it can also be really self-destructive in these times when we need to be resting and recovering. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm very fortunate this has happened at a good time of year, so I can switch off with the family, I can enjoy myself, and I have been this week already. This is day 5 without running, and I'm just not worrying about it at all. And I think that's the key. Coming to terms with what's happened. It can be, I know it sounds a bit dramatic, but it can be a little bit of a grieving process. It can be a little bit of frustration if you're mid-block, if you're at the end of the block, you just want to keep rolling, you're feeling good, training's good. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've just had one of the best training blocks of my life. I've got so much fitter and faster, but I'm not going to worry. In reality, in the big scheme of things, if, touch wood, I am only off for a couple of weeks and I can start to ease back into it. What's 2 weeks in a 52-week year? What is 2 weeks? It really is nothing. And actually, it's going to allow my body to just absorb everything that I've done and then move on to the next block. We have a big block, as I say, coming up. I want to be ready. I don't want to be going in there with any niggles. I want to be 110%. So actually what we have to do is we have to spin it on its head and go, do you know what? Maybe I'm just not meant to run at the moment. Maybe I'm meant to take this opportunity to rest and recover. I mean, don't get me wrong. I appreciate for longer term injuries, it is a bit of a different ball game. But in my specific circumstance, hopefully it should be a couple of weeks, no more than 3 or 4 weeks maximum. I am going to be seeing how I am on a day-to-day basis, and I can confirm right now after day 5 without running, I'd say I'm about 80% better. I'm really hoping that by the weekend I'm 100%, which is going to allow me to get frustrated next week for not running, and that's what I want. 3 or 4 days of frustration when I feel ready, when I'm ready to go, because then I know I'm 110% ready to start the next block. So number 2 is 100% going to be just don't stress. And point number 3 is going to be to do a lot of stretching and foam rolling, and also chucking a little bit of resistance band work in there, which kind of is a bit of strength training, but I kind of class stretching and foam rolling different to my strength training and cross training, just because I do feel they're 2 separate things. For me, what I can do is I can switch off and I can go, right, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to tick over just by getting on the bike a bit, but also enjoying myself, but you know, just keeping the engine revving slightly, low revs until we get going again in the new year. But stretching and foam rolling I found is so key. I had a bit of an issue, I think it was around week 8 or 9, where I just felt so sluggish, I couldn't get the legs going. I spent a couple of days really using the massage gun well, foam rolling, using the spiky lacrosse ball, and the next workout I did, I absolutely flew. Put in one of the best workouts I'd done all training block. And it just goes to show sometimes we can get a bit tight in the hips or we're sitting on our backsides at the computer like me. Just stretching those calves, hamstrings, quads, glutes, everything back for me, back in particular. Just getting it all stretched out, iron it all out, feeling good. I want to go into the first week of the new block feeling nice and limber and ready to go. Stretching is so underrated. Now for me, this is a completely separate topic. I don't ever do static stretches before a run. I do dynamic sort of workouts before I go, so leg swings, all of that stuff before I run, and then I do static stretches afterwards. So I never do static stretches on a cold body, if that makes sense. I've always got to have warmed up before I do them. But for me at the moment, just doing gentle stretches at home, not full on stretches, but just sitting there gently stretching the calves, hamstrings, that's all good. I'm going to be using the foam roller as well, the massage gun I have been, and I feel so much better for it. Everything's starting to feel a lot looser than it has been, and that's what I want to feel, because mid-training block, get a bit slack on these sorts of things. So again, using this opportunity for the next couple of weeks to stretch and foam roll. The 4th thing I'm going to be doing is planning for the next phase. In my particular case, 2022, whatever point the training block you might be at where you suffer an injury, if it's mid during summer, planning for the next block. What I like to do, I know it seems a little bit strange, but I like to keep my mind busy. And so if I can't run, I like to think about and prepare myself ready for the next block and start structuring things, mark out certain dates in calendars as to when I want to start specifically training for certain things. That's what I like to do in my head. So for me now, the next couple of weeks, I've already marked out January the 4th when the kids go back to school on a Tuesday, probably be the 3rd. If all being well, my leg is better, I'm going to go out there and try and take my first run. So I've kind of got that date, Monday the 3rd. earmarked. If not, I'll be pushing it back. As I said, I'll be taking it week by week. But then I know the Cardiff half is on March the 27th. I know when I've got all my tune-up races. So I know that now for the first week, I'm going to be taking that nice and easy. So that's going to reshuffle the training block that I was going to be doing. Obviously, rather than starting off with a hard first week, we're going to be going straight in to a nice easy week. Speedway 10k, if that happens, and fingers crossed no lockdowns happen, that's 3 weeks into the training block. So I now have to reshuffle things a little bit and go, right, you can't do 2 hard weeks and then a little down week before Speedway. This is all going to be a bit of a build up to Speedway. First week, nice and easy. Second week, you might chuck in the first workout or 2. Mileage might go up a little bit. And then Speedway, you might decide to use Speedway as a workout. So I might do a workout on a Tuesday, but then have Monday as a moderate and then use the Sunday as a workout. It's all kind of planning as to how I'm going to structure things. Again, it keeps my busy mind active. I start writing things down, making notes on my phone, preparing myself. At the moment, I'm obviously writing my own training plan, so I know as and when that I can do things in certain dates, when to start doing stuff. Do you know what I mean? Easy weeks now instead of hard training weeks, all of that good stuff. So for me, keeping my mind active, giving myself something to look forward to without rushing myself. So I'm not talking about short-term goals. I know these things I'm talking about are in my next block, but I'm very also aware that I need to be flexible. So I know that if I'm not ready by the first week of January, that's all good. We wait another week and we see how we are, and so on and so forth. So keeping my mind busy for 2022 is what it's all about. At the moment, I don't have the second half of 2022 structured out. So I'm going to be using the next week or so to start looking and plotting some potential dates for some other races in that second half of the year. I've got up to April sorted. In fact, I've got up to May sorted, but I've got nothing at the moment really from June through to the London Marathon in October. So yeah, keeping my mind active, planning the next phase, planning 2022 is the next thing. And the fifth and final thing I want to share with you guys is talking to a professional. For me, in all of this, it's so important that you guys go and seek professional advice when you get these sorts of issues. Obviously, social media is a wonderful thing, but sadly, some people do take to social media to try and get a diagnosis of an injury that just is not worth it. That 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds that you might spend on professional advice is going to be far more worth it than going and spending that money on race entries, on trainers, on anything else, because ultimately that could be the difference between you running for 52 weeks of the next year compared to having an injury hit year where you're just dealing with frustration after frustration with these niggles coming back. For me, it was all about going and seeing Tony. I've built a rapport with her. She knows my body, she knows my injuries, she knows my injury history, she knows what my strengths are, my weaknesses are. She knows that right side that I've suffered this calf issue on is a weakness for me from previous injuries. She knows that hamstring in my right side is also a weakness. So she can piece things together and she can put my mind at ease when I go in there and say, Tony, I have a stress fracture, I have a strain, a tear, whatever it might be. She can just go, calm down, it's all good, and she'll work through things from my ankle. Like she just worked from my ankle up and it was all good, and now I've come away 2 days after that feeling pretty much like 80% better. So it just makes the world of difference to go and see a professional about these things, because then what you can do also for me over the next 2 weeks is touch base with her on a regular basis, tell her how progress is going, and then she'll be able to say, yep, do you know what, go and try that first run, go and make sure you're okay to try it out. Or she'll say, oh, it doesn't sound like you're making as much progress as I'd like, just hold back another few days, keep that rehab going, and then try again, because ultimately I want to be 110% ready. She wants me to be as well, and hopefully you guys can build a relationship with a professional near you that is always there to help you out when it comes to these injuries. So there we go, that's my top 5 recovery tips that I'm going to be doing over the next 2 weeks, and I'd love to hear your positivity, what you guys do when you're injured, how do you cope with it, what do you do from a mental perspective to allow you to get through those injury periods. It's always frustrating, the whole self-diagnosis thing, as I just mentioned, it can be a little bit of a dicey thing, but it's always good to share positivity and how and what you focus on when you're injured, what you do, what you turn to, what your favourite thing is. I'd love to hear, we can share that with each other and hopefully inspire other people that are going through similar things to help them get through those injury periods and get them back running again. So that's it from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. It's the last one before Christmas, so wishing you guys a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate. I hope you have a good one. I'll see you after Christmas for the 2022 running goals, recapping on 2021 and seeing how we've got on this year. If you enjoyed today, make sure you give it a like, share with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then.